And we decided the Saturday morning talk would be about Mary and her fiat. And I volunteered to give that talk. And so I was praying about it. I had a whole list of things that I was going to talk about, like scripture quotes, different parables and stuff that like correlate into it, all that good stuff. And then the night before, Friday night, when we got there, we had adoration. And so I was sitting there and I was just talking to Jesus. Because one thing I really like to do in adoration that just kind of helps me focus and like remind myself why I'm there is I just have a conversation with him. Right. And I talked, like one time I sat in adoration, I was just talking about my rings and I showed him like where I got each one of them and all that good stuff. So I was talking to him and then I was like, okay, I'm literally going to be talking about your mom tomorrow morning. Like, I was like, you know her the best. I was like, what do you want me to tell them? And so I was sitting there and in silence, obviously. But two things I heard very clearly that like I had written down once I like heard them, or I guess they came into my mind. And I, like 2 minutes later, I looked back on them. I was like, yeah, there's no way that I came up with that on my own. So the two things he told me that she wants us to do is she wants us to pray, like wants us to pray to her, or like, you know, like, like talk to her, pray for her, help and stuff like that. Like she really, really wants us to pray to her. And then another one that I was a little shocked that I heard this, but he said, fall asleep in her arms.
Fall asleep in her arms?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, fall asleep in her arms.
What does that mean?
I don't know. One thing that I took from it, because one thing that my mom always told me growing up when I'd wake up and I'd have nightmares or like I had really unrestful sleep, she was like, pray to Mary. So sometimes I would literally fall asleep praying the Hail Mary over and over and over again. So I took that as one of those things. And recently maybe it was more personally for me, but I have been a restless sleeper for like the past year. I just have trouble sleeping a lot. So one thing that I always do is I call upon Mary to I ask her to help me sleep. So, but cool. Pray to her. He told me that. Jesus told me that. And
now he wants you to hear it. No, absolutely. I think that's beautiful.
So, and Mary's just been on my mind a lot recently. And like whenever growing up, I always just correlated her with the age of my mom. And so like I always imagined her so much older, but like by the time she was my age, Jesus was already 6.
Yeah.
Like
that's wild.
And like I don't know. I was also I am going on and on about this, but
you go, girl.
I was also, and then after I had asked him what I should share with the women of on the retreat, I had asked him, I was like, what was it like to have her as a mom? I was like, you of all people would know. And like we don't have much scripture about her. And so I was like, what was it like? And I was like just sitting there and I just got this overwhelming sense of joy. Like I actually started crying tears of joy because in like happiness. And I literally felt like I could walk on air. I was like so happy. And then that like turned into tears of sadness. Like I felt this overwhelming sense of like sadness. Like I was like being crushed. And I had written down like in my prayer journal, I was like tears of joy, tears of sadness. I was like, tears for what? And then adoration had actually shortly ended after that. So I was like, wait, I'm so confused. And I was talking to some friends about it and they were like telling me it was from like Mary's perspective, but I was like, I asked Jesus, like, what was it like? Right. And so I took it as the joy that I felt was like having him as a mom, like her raising him. And like, I just thought about all the things, like maybe he would like chase her around the house or like vice versa, or like he would like make a table for her or like all these different.
One of my favorite pictures, we have a lot of religious images right up in my house. And one of my favorite pictures is in our laundry room. And it is, you might've seen it before. It's Mary hanging clothes up on the laundry line. And Jesus, little toddler Jesus is sitting there butt naked. And you see his butt while he's like sitting on the ground. And I love it because it's just like this very human, like he's got like a little halo, but he's just like little naked baby sitting there. You see his back facing mom.
I love that.
And it's precious. Cute. I love it. Yeah. I think we talked about this on a recent episode, but the humanity of Christ in particular, but also the humanity of the saints is something I think we overlook so much, right?
Yeah,
I agree.
Real people who like to have fun and laugh and enjoy things. And I think we have this stereotype as Catholics that we get all caught up in the suffering and the tears and the whatever. And like, yeah, there's a part of it to that. That struggle and that suffering is real and it's part of the human experience. But we can't dehumanize the saints into these sort of distant, solemn, untouchable people because they were just like dudes. And dudes is a gender neutral term here, right? They're just dudes. They would have been fun to hang out with. They're like good, joyful. They're the most joy-filled people that we know of, for sure. So I think that's cool.
Whoa, hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of this video. It seems like you really enjoyed it, so you should go check out the full episode of Honest to God, where we dive into this topic even more. And if you really enjoyed it, then drop us a like, subscribe, and ring the little bell so that you never miss an Honest to God episode or an episode of anything that we produce.